Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 1, Nether Realm of the Dead. Chapter 14, Turmoil. 14th of Volume 1. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. These hairs were thick and abundant, and were scattered everywhere. 100,000 strands, like threads, coiled around Li Wei's body, dragging him inch by inch into the grave with irresistible force. It was impossible for him to even breathe. His mouth and nose were blocked by either soil or hair. As Li Wei neared suffocation, the inner vitality flow surged from the sole of his right foot. Instantly, his lungs, on the verge of bursting, found relief, and he miraculously entered a state of ceaseless inner breath. This flow can actually substitute for breathing. Doesn't that mean I can hold my breath for as long as I want from now on? But his momentary excitement quickly faded as he returned to the terrifying reality. He strained every ounce of his strength to struggle, but it only exhausted him further, leaving him utterly powerless against the hair. Gradually, he sank deeper, the soil piling thicker on his back. Until, at a certain moment, a bone-chilling cold surged up from beneath him. Through gaps in the hair, he saw a blindingly white ice coffin. Within the coffin lay a slender skeleton dressed in red, its hands folded over its abdomen, calm and serene. The bones were like immortal jade, with crimson blood vessels pulsing across their surface. Astonishingly, preserved blood remained, still imbued with extraordinary vitality. Every strand of hair grew from the skull within the coffin, extending out through the cracks in the icy casket. It's a resurrected corpse. But how? It's already reduced to white bones, how could it suddenly awaken? The ice. It's melting. As the ice coffin dissolved, Li Wei's entire body became soaked. The coffin lid grew thinner and thinner. Li Wei's sense of impending danger intensified. Could it be that they dragged me down here just because she was lonely lying alone down here? If he didn't escape soon, once the coffin completely melted, he too would likely turn to white bones. Right, the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish. This supreme treasure of the Chan sect remained clutched in his hand. The two fish eyes held immense power, they must be capable of subduing this red-clad fairy. Pa! What red-robed fairy? She's just a white bone demon. He recalled that the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish had been activated by his blood, emitting azure light and crimson glows. No time to think. I'll just have to treat a dead horse like a living one. The moment the ice coffin lid melted through, Li Wei mustered all his strength to fight against the hair entwined around his arm. With a desperate effort, he yanked his right hand, which clutched the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish, back toward him. Instantly, his wrist collided with the jagged, uneven edge of the melted coffin lid. Thud. As Li Wei plummeted into the coffin, his wrist sliced across the razor-sharp edge, and blood gushed forth, streaming down his arm and pooling in his palm. This white bone demon was unbearably abrasive, devoid of any flesh. Crashing onto her, Li Wei's entire body ached from the impact. Worse still, the hair wound around him so tightly that he couldn't move an inch, forced to remain in constant contact with her. His eyes seemed to be pressed into her sunken sockets. His nose sank into the hollows of her cheeks. His lips were pressed against her mouthful of snow-white teeth. The hair tightened further. Li Wei felt his body about to be crushed. The points of contact, his lips, cheeks, shoulders, hips, were already lacerated, bleeding profusely. Strangely, the blood was being absorbed into her white bones, seeping inward. Is she trying to devour all my flesh? Does she intend to revive herself? Li Wei's consciousness blurred as his hair and the white bones beneath him tightened their grip. Even the scorching inner vitality flow within him began to dissipate. More terrifying still, a frigid power surged from his forehead, piercing the center of his brow and sending a shiver through his entire body. Whoosh! Just as Li Wei was about to be played dead, the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish finally reacted, erupting with azure light and crimson radiance. The hair entangling Li Wei scattered like straw before fire, fleeing as if burned. Finally free, Li Wei sat up and slapped the hair-covered skull, forcing it to turn. This was intolerable humiliation, he had to vent this anger. The Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish glowed brightly for only an instant before fading back into darkness. Terrified, Li Wei fled immediately, no longer daring to discipline the creature further. While climbing the grave mound, he retrieved the yellow dragon sword. No sooner had he leapt down with the sword than the wind chimes on the blue stone tablet clanged violently again. A mass of black hair, like a swirling cloud of serpents, surged forth from the hole at the top of the mound and rushed toward Li Wei. In an instant, the area within 15 meters was filled with flying strands of hair. Li Wei wasn't certain if the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish had truly been activated by his blood. If he were entangled in the ice coffin again, he might not escape a second time. Whoosh! 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 Li Wei's legs moved swiftly, dodging and weaving as he swung the yellow dragon sword repeatedly. A scorching stream of energy surged from the sole of his right foot into his right hand, coating the blade's edge with a faint, golden glow. He slashed horizontally. The arc of the sword shone like the moon, dazzling in its brilliance. The black-haired demon struck by the sword dissolved into wisps of smoke, vanishing into the air. This sword had become a true demonic bane, feared and avoided by all evil spirits. Near the medical tent, dozens of men, women, and young men sat or lay against the ship's railing, their hands tied behind their backs. Having consumed a drugged breakfast, some remained unconscious. The conscious members of the scientific expedition team glared with fury, hurling curses at Chen Hong, Kong Fan, and the others standing nearby. Kong Fan, the head chef, was a short, rotund man in his 40s. His white chef's uniform, stained with grease and fresh blood, hung loosely on his frame. The other 3 members of the kitchen crew were dragging the injured and disabled out of the medical tent one by one. Professor Shu, with both legs broken, was hauled out of the tent by a young cook gripping one of his arms. Pain twisted his mouth into a grimace, and he wailed hoarsely. Even animals revert to their instincts. Sensing danger, they attack and kill. Faced with starvation, they turn on their own kind. Without restraint, human nature unleashes all evil, unchecked. Desire. Madness. You old bastard. You've been eating too much food for past few days. Howling so loudly. Looks like all your strength's gone to your mouth. Kong Fan harbored deep resentment toward Professor Shu. The professor's voracious appetite had forced his students to make multiple trips to the kitchen each day, making their lives a living hell. Of course, neither Professor Shu nor the students realized that most of his food was actually ending up in the stomach of the man lying next to him. Kong Fan delivered 2 vicious kicks to Professor Shu's head, causing blood to stream from his mouth. He fell silent immediately. Bang! 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 A series of gunshots rang out. A moment later, Xie Tianshu emerged from the nether mist, his expression cold and stern. He wore a dragon-patterned thumb ring on his left thumb and held a pistol in his right hand. 4 security team members followed, carrying 2 bodies which they tossed before the crowd. When the passengers saw the corpses of Captain Gao Xin and another crew member, their initial angry curses and accusations turned into screams and wails. Some were so terrified they dared not breathe, their bodies trembling violently. You murderers! What did Captain Gao ever do to you? You're completely lawless. Professor Shu roared. Xie Tianshu, usually calm and composed, patiently explained, Professor, we're in a desolate, lawless world where land is nowhere to be seen. What laws? What heavens? Captain Gao was a good man, but good people don't survive in harsh environments. He was the first to be eliminated in the first wave. As a biology professor, you should understand better than anyone that survival is the universe's first law. When the environment becomes hostile, creatures become irritable and restless, then actively they eliminate their competitors for resources. Those who don't take the initiative will be eliminated. Survival of the fittest, survival of the adaptable. Isn't that what you people always say? Only by eliminating the inferior who consume our food and water can the superior have a chance to survive. Ah, those who don't think ahead will face immediate troubles. We can't wait until the food is completely gone, everyone's starving and weak, and then resort to cannibalism. That would be unsightly. After all, we're civilized people. Captain Gao lacks the resolve, so I have to be the villain. Xie Tianshu then approached Zhao Meng, crouched down, and examined his severely twisted legs. How did your legs get beaten so badly? You people are too ruthless. He said irritably, Brother Meng, does it hurt? It must hurt terribly. Here's what I'll do, hand over the Buddha relic, and I'll give you a swift end. I swear on my honor, I'll keep my word. Zhao Meng, his face ashen, opened his eyes and gave Xie Tianshu an indifferent glance. Xie Tianshu's gaze turned icy. Have you found Li Wei yet? He demanded. A security team member replied, not yet. The deck area is so small. Where could he possibly hide? Search every inch, dig up every mound if necessary, until you find him. Where's Xie Jin? Xie Tianshu demanded. He took a team to the cultivation area and hasn't returned yet, a security team member replied. Xie Tianshu knew exactly what Xie Jin was up to, he was after Kai Yutong. Brother Meng, do you know why I'm certain the Buddha relic is on one of you two? Xie Tianshu asked with a smile, because when the Longji sank, I saw it with my own eyes. Li Wei's body emitted a cyan glow and crimson rays. The more you deny and conceal, the more it proves the Buddha relic was on the ship. Confess now, and you'll suffer far less. Zhao Meng remained silent. Gao Huan, his hands bound behind him, his face pressed against the icy deck, slowly regained consciousness. His shoulders and wrists throbbed, his head pounded, and his vision and hearing gradually sharpened from blur to clarity. As he took in his surroundings, his gaze fell upon the two corpses, and his pupils contracted sharply. In disbelief, he struggled into a sitting position, his eyes fixed on Captain Gao Xin's body. Suddenly, he let out a grief-stricken cry, Dad! He lurched to his feet and lunged forward. His balance faltered, and he crashed to the deck, his head striking the metal first, collapsing beside the corpses. Dad! Who killed my dad? Which one of you did this? You! Ah! Wu! Gao Huan's voice rasped hoarsely, his heart twisting in pain as tears mixed with the blood on his father's corpse. Chen Hong looked surprised. So Captain Gao's son was on board too. He hid well. Another connection, Kong Fan sneered. Just a research ship, and they managed to shove so many people on board. A security team member whispered in Xie Tianshu's ear, this kid's close with Li Wei. They've been together a lot lately. He must know where Li Wei is hiding. Xie Tianshu walked over to comfort him. Huan, there's no bringing the dead back to life. You need to accept this and move forward. Tell me, where is Li Wei? Gao Huan saw the pistol in Xie Tianshu's hand, the one that had belonged to his father. He knew instantly who the killer was. I'll kill you. Gritting his teeth, he lunged forward with a violent headbutt. Xie Tianshu swiftly retreated. Gao Huan crashed to the ground, his head meeting only air. Before he could get up, Chen Hong's boot pressed down on his neck, the hard sole grinding against his ear until it bled. Chen Hong growled, don't spit out the wine and demand the vinegar. Can't you see the situation? I see you. Motherfucker. Gao Huan roared. Chen Hong's gaze hardened. With a swift kick, he sent Gao Huan reeling, nearly knocking the wind out of him, leaving him unable to utter another curse. Through the swirling nether mist, chaotic footsteps and curses echoed. Xie Jin and 3 others escorted the 5 students from the cultivation area back to the deck. The horrifying scene that greeted them left the students, who had been so defiant moments before, trembling in silence. 2 of the girls lowered their heads, their legs shaking violently. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.